Hey, this Realm of the Mist podcast is brought to you proudly by the Nurses Guild.
Hi, this is Eddie Deason. You're listening to Breaking the Fourth Wall. I was Mandark in Dexter's laboratory. Ha 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 ha.
Hey, what's up, guys? Christopher Stolle back for another Breaking the Fourth Wall. And, guys, I get to sit down with a hometown girl. This one's cool because it's not very often I get to sit down and talk to a fellow Philadelphian. But this Philadelphian has done way more than I have because she is set to debut with Idris Elba in her acting career as a leading lady. She gets to be the wife of Idris Elba. Ladies and gentlemen, Liz Priestley.
Hello. What an intro. I got to live up to that intro now. All right.
What a way to break into the business. Nine times.
If I'm going to go in, let's go in with a bang, make an impression, make sure people remember me.
That's the way to do it. Because normally when the conversation starts, it's like, well, how did you start? Oh, well, I was doing commercials and extra. No, I got a female lead role opposite Idris Elba.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. It's like it's gonna be a great story to tell my grandkids one day.
Absolutely. Sure. But of course, I got to start at the beginning. And how did you wind up here? How did you wind up here?
Yeah. That's a really good question because the road that I took to get here is like I probably could have shortened it on many points. I started off as a musician around age 4. I started playing violin, and I kept that up in total for about 18 years. Okay. And then also in there, I started training as a classically trained opera singer around age 14, and kept that up. I still do that here and there now, but mostly intense then. And then, so I started doing that in middle school, went through high school doing it. And then there came a point where it was like, to go to college, it was like, what are you going to study? You know what I mean? And my parents and, all my Philly friends and family and people around here, they all know me as a singer. And it was kind of expected that that's where I was going to go. But
that's where my mind was too. It's like with violin and opera singing, college seems simple. Like, yeah, of course, music theory.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, and in there too, I had to, as part of my, like, I was on a voice scholarship, so I had to take piano as part of that. And I have 5 sisters. They all played instruments. I dabbled with their instruments. So I'm definitely a musician through and through. Okay. But alongside all of that, around age like 7-ish, I'll say 7, 8-ish, is when I first started being like, I want to be that person who makes movies. Like, I was fascinated with the idea that there was like a job where people could play pretend for a living and make money doing it. I was like, what? And play dress up? Like, this is great. So I was super interested in that from when I was a kid. And then that kept on as well. I mean, you do your like school plays that they make you do in elementary school. Yeah. And I was taking those. Yeah, I was taking those seriously, and then when it got to, the point in school where you could audition for plays, I was just, left and right, any play that I was able to be a part of, I was auditioning for. And so my love for that was growing as well. And even though I was doing stage stuff, I knew even then, I was like, yeah, this is fine, but I want to be in movies. I want to be the person that you go to see and you're like eating the popcorn and you're like, oh my goodness, that's my friend. Like, I wanted to do that. So yeah, so then, college came and it was a little bit of like a little battle, but I decided to compromise and I went in for musical theater.
Aha.
Yes, I went to Ithaca College and I graduated their musical theater program. And I was, working as an actor in plays and musical theater for about 25-ish years. And then last August, I I made my film debut. So yeah, it's been a very twisty road to get to where I'm at, but I'm
Well, that it's not that twisty because again, like a lot of actors and actresses I've spoken to,
hmm
of course they kind of followed a similar route with going to schooling for acting or doing the school plays or minor theater productions.
right.
And then they still started off with like commercials, smaller roles. How did you jump from deciding I want to be in movies to I'm going to be a lead actress in my first film?
Well, technically, okay, so I've done two commercials.
Okay.
So what happened was, okay, so I've been doing theater all this time and then also working in every industry you could possibly think of. I have worked in alongside of that. Um, and then like midway through 2018, I was like, that's it. I'm done with the 9 to 5s. I'm done. I'm committing to this. And I found a manager, and like within a couple months I booked a commercial, and then I booked a second commercial, and then um the third thing I booked was the film. And it was so funny because at that point they were like, I get a call and they're like, hey, you need to join the actors union now because you've been doing union work. I was like, what? I thought that would be years down the line type of
Right.
thing. But yeah, so I mean, I had a Pennsylvania lottery commercial that was out last year. It's the one where they're like at a hibachi restaurant. I'm in that one.
Yeah, I remember that
Um,
one. That was
yeah, and
you.
then there was a Safe Auto commercial I did where it's like the guys hanging up the billboards and they're shouting at each other, and a cop walks in and she's like, "Come on down here, son." I'm the cop.
Nice.
Um,
I don't remember that one, but I remember the lottery one.
Yeah. So I did those two, and then the third thing I got. So my manager sends me this script, right? And she's like, it's for a feature film, and this is not the first feature film I've auditioned for, but she's like, feature film, about black cowboys in Philadelphia. And I'm like, okay, sure. Like I thought that was a fantasy thing. I did not know that was a thing until I got cast in this movie. I'm
Oh
ashamed
wow.
to say. Yeah, I'm from here. I had no.
See, race aside, I would have been right there with you. I'm like, well, cowboys in the East. I mean, that was the Wild West.
I
You
had no idea. I mean, we ended up doing some research on this during, and it was like eye-opening how much we've been, I hate to say it, whitewashed out of history. I mean, there was the term cowboy comes from slavery. If you worked in the house, you were a houseboy. In the stables, you were a stable boy. If you worked with the cows, you were a cowboy. And at one point, we were the cowboys. And then slowly that, in Hollywood helped push that side. But suffice it to say, this group of black cowboys has existed in major cities across the US since the Civil War. And this is the first I'd ever heard of it. So I was just like gobsmacked, could not believe it. And in fact, in our movie, which basically takes place at the Fletcher Street Stables, which is in North Philly.
Yeah.
A bunch of those cowboys play cowboys in our movie. So it was really cool, like that we were, did you get a chance to get down there when we were shooting last year? Because that's like your
No,
neighborhood-ish, kind of, no?
no,
Okay.
not at all. Like I said, and the funny thing is like a guilty pleasure of mine is I love Wild West culture. Like my uncle, for an example, was like you were talking about earlier about sitting in the theater eating popcorn. It's like, oh, there's my friend. The only thing close to that experience I have is my uncle, who's dead now. He was a Civil War reenactor, and he was cast
Mm.
as an extra in the movie Gettysburg.
Oh my god, that's so
Now, of course, I
cool.
couldn't pick him out in the film, but
Right.
the fact that he was in the movie was like, hey, my uncle's in this, but that's about the
That is
closest
so
I ever
cool.
got. But I've always loved like the
Yeah.
Civil War slash Western frontier cowboys and
Yeah.
Indians, Tombstone,
Oh my
One
gosh,
Hill
yeah.
Hilltop.
Tombstone's great movie.
So this is automatically appealing to me just because of the fact to
It's
find out that the Wild West existed in Philadelphia.
of all places, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating. And then so there's that framework of the film, and then the main story of the film is about this boy who basically kind of acts like the audience in that he has no idea what this world is like, and he's basically thrust in there, um and has to learn about it. So it's, he's my 15-year-old son who's been like acting up in school. He's gotten kicked out of like something like his third or fourth school. um and I just, I'm at the end of my rope, and so I drive him from Detroit to Philly overnight, and I basically dump him on his dad's doorstep, and I'm like, he's your problem now, I've done all I can, you got to take it from here. But then his dad just so happens to be the leader of this group of Black cowboys in the heart of the city. So
Okay.
he has to not only learn about who his father is, but what this world is really like. So it's a really cool
Fish out of water.
framework to put the, yeah. So I'm really excited for people to see it because of the historical, elements, but also because, it's Idris Elba and Caleb McLaughlin, who are just two such brilliant performers. And it was just like, I'm in the middle of them for like 8 days, like, rah, like trying to hold my own and like do my thing. But no, what I was gonna say before was, and when my manager gave me the script for the audition, I don't think she knew initially that it was, Idris Elba in the movie. It
Right.
was like, oh, here's this script, it's like a cowboy movie. And I remember like thinking, like, in the back of my head somewhere I'd heard, Idris Elba maybe coming to Philly doing a cowboy movie, and I'm like, okay. Didn't make the connection. And I had a couple auditions for the part, which is, typical, but I, you know it was like not until just after the second audition that I kind of put it together. Oh, this is the movie with Idris. Who's he playing in this? You know what I mean? And I'm looking and I'm like, well, obviously he's not playing the 15-year-old, so he must be playing the dad. And then I'm going, so who am I in this? I think this is the mom. And then I was like, well, that's great. I don't have a chance of getting this part at all. Maybe they're looking for a stand-in or a double. So I'm just going to go in there, do my thing, try to show the casting director, who I've had seen before, like that she could, that I could handle dramatic parts. But I just was like, there's no way in hell that I'm getting this part. Like, there's just no way. Like, they're not going to be looking seriously at an unknown person who has absolutely zero film credits on her resume for this part. So maybe they're just looking for, a Kerry Washington like stand-in for when she needs to go to the bathroom, and I'll just stand there and be like, So I did the second audition, and then I got another call back. And at that point I was like, hang on, am I really being considered for this? Because at that point I was like, this is cruel. Like, I really, because I don't want to get my hopes up. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, is this real? And at that point I found out that, that there was a discussion happening, where the director, and I have no idea if Idris was involved in this at all, because he is an executive producer on this, but, the director, Ricky Staub, was like, I want her. I want Liz. She's great. I've seen her videos. I've now met her in person. I want her. And the casting person, Diane Heary, who I will just never stop singing both of their praises, like, honestly. She was like, Liz is great. She's always on the ball. Like, hire her. And the producers, at least one, I don't know if there was more than one, but the producers were like, we should maybe get a name because, you know, let's guarantee that we get butts in the seats. Like, maybe not go with an unknown. So there was this kind of back and forth.
That's the story as old as time.
Yeah, and I was just like,
as you're describing it, I'm thinking to myself, like, this is drawing a lot of similarities to something, you know, a little indie cult film that nobody remembers called Star Wars. You know, where they had a couple
that little unknown gem, you know.
They had a couple established actors in Alec Guinness and
right.
Peter Cushing, but for the most part, it was a bunch of unknown actors, and studios and executives were all like, no, we can't have it unknowns. Became the biggest movie of all time. You can't always say you need a name to put butts in the seat.
Can't imagine if they had put anybody else in those roles. I mean, listen, I'm not saying that I'm better than Kerry Washington, and I have no idea what name actresses were up for this role, but you know, at that point, before the third audition, I was like, all right, I want this role. Like, come on. Like, I want this role. And I was really going all out for the auditions too, because, like, I've told this story before on a different podcast, but at the time at the audition, my character was written very different than how she ends up in the film.
Okay.
In the film, she's a nurse. She's, you know, she's a single mom. She's working hard. She's trying to get her life together, and her son is just too much. You know what I mean? In the auditions at that stage, and also that version is closer to the source material because this is based on a book. It's
okay.
The book is called Ghetto Cowboy by Greg Neary. But I don't know why, but in the audition stage, she was written, you know, she was in the script, it was like, she looks like she has lived a very hard life. And, you know, she was on some kind of drugs. She was being evicted from her apartment. That was one of the scenes that I was supposed to audition.
Urban.
Yeah. So I am glad they dropped those elements out of them, out of the script eventually. I don't know why they did ultimately, but I'm glad they did. But for me, for the audition, then I did a little method. I'm not a method actress. I would not consider myself a method actress, but I knew, you know, this casting director, like I said, I was not even thinking about getting the part. I just wanted her to see I could do something different because she had always called me in for like the Target and Walmart moms, the who's ready for school moms. I do those all the time, you know, and I wanted her to see like, oh, I could do something gritty. So I stayed up for about 48 hours straight and, you know, just like super dehydrated. I was crying. I put on like this makeup to make my eyes look like really red and puffy and like I had been crying all night. And I just looked exhausted. And I went in with like holes in my clothes and like a scarf on my head. I just looked awful. And I knew as soon as I walked in the first time when I saw her face, I was like, oh, yes. Because she looked at me, you know, I was like, oh.
Which is not normally how you dress or act for a job interview.
Yeah. I was like, oh, good. I scared her, you know. So I think also doing that, you know, it was like, look, she's committed. Like she's going all in with this. She's consistently coming in doing this 3 times now, you know. So yeah, I mean, the audition itself was intense. It was fun though. It was fun. And then I got the call. But I never met Idris during the audition, which is rare. I never met Caleb. I didn't meet anyone. I met Ricky, and that's it.
Well, that's where my next question was going to be. Is tell me about when you finally meet, you know, Idris and Caleb and you know, how is it meeting these people that I don't want to sound so starstruck here.
No, but it is that, you know, it is that because it was like leading up to it. So I had like a month before we started shooting. So it was just a month. It was 30 days of me freaking out, and everybody saying to me, oh, Liz, he's just a guy. Just remember, he's just a guy. And I'm like, yeah, but nah, like, he's not just a guy. It's Idris Elba. Like, you don't, you know what I mean? And so
Right.
I was pretty scared. But then, so my first day on set, they were very nice to me. They gave me a scene where I had no lines and I just had to react. And I was like, oh, thank you so much, So I showed up. I get there, and first of all, they're like, oh, let us show you to your trailer, which I just bugged out about for about an hour because I was like, oh my God, that's my name. Like, but no, and then, I get to the set, they're putting on my mic, and I turn the corner and there's Caleb. And I've just binge watched the first season of Stranger Things. So I'm thinking it's like an 11-year-old kid that's going to run up to me. And instead, it's this 17-year-old man who's taller than me by like a good 4 inches, runs up to me, Mom. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just like, what? So we had about 10 seconds to chit chat, and then they put us both up on a horse.
You didn't
now,
have
mind
to
you, this
play
is only
D&D?
the second time. Yeah, this is only the second time I've ever been on a horse in my whole life, and we're both allergic. And also, yeah, and so is Idris. We're all 3 of us allergic.
You
So
would think that would be the first question for a cowboy film. How you feel about horses?
well, they didn't ask me, and then so I don't think anybody realized at first that I was going to be on the horse, because the way my part is, you'd think I'd be kind of done in the beginning, but
Right.
Then I realized it after I read the script, and I was like, do I need to tell anyone that I'm allergic, or can I just keep it to myself? Because I didn't want to get fired. I was like, if I tell someone, are they going to replace me? But no, and then, when you're on a horse, if it's 2 people, the bigger person has to go on the back. So that was me. So it's like, we've known each other 10 seconds, and then we're up on the horse, and I'm like, hey, gonna wrap my arms around you now. So sorry, and he was so sweet about it. But it's like we get on the horse, and then they pull my horse up to this other horse. And I look to my right, and like a foot away from me is Idris Elba just grinning at me. And I was so flustered that the first thing I said is, oh, hello, husband. And he goes, oh, hello, wife. And I was just like, I'm going to fall off the horse. It was like, oh my God, he was like so sweet. I think he's a little shy. That's my impression. I don't know, but I think he's a little shy. But he's cool. It's like,
I've gotten that impression.
and all you think about is like, yeah, you're James Bond. Like, you're definitely gonna be James Bond somewhere, some way, somehow. We gotta make it happen, right?
Which I'm absolutely for. I've actually
We
vocally stated
gotta.
I want Idris Elba as Bond, but I was
Can
going
we
to say,
please make it happen? Like, he's so. I mean, guys, we gotta make it happen.
I can't remember the name of the first movie I ever saw him in. It was something my ex-wife really loved, but it was one of those ones where he was a single father of a bunch of kids, and I think he just
Daddy's Girls, probably.
Daddy's Girls, yeah, that was it, Daddy's Girls. And from that, and then of course from his roles in the Marvel films as Hemdall,
yes.
And then watching the behind the scenes, it's like he seemed like such a down to earth guy.
He's so like, I heard, so we had like a week. They scheduled all the night shoots in 1 week. And I only had one of those nights. I showed up for 2 because I showed up one night to hang out because I was like, why not?
A trailer.
But I was like, I'm gonna hang out with Idris Elba tonight. Like, why not? But he was that guy that would hang out with the group of cowboys around the campfire between takes and just talk. Him and Method Man would be sitting there rhyming, like just freestyle rapping to each other, and then just talking with the cowboys about their lives and what it was like working in the stables. He just was the coolest. Like, he was just the coolest. And I had one day with him where we shot kind of our big scene, and I was just like, you know, just so terrified going into it. I was just like, how am I supposed to keep it together? Like, how am I going to keep it together? You know? And
I'm almost hoping it's like one of those nasty divorce interactions between you two, just to add to this stress. And it's like, my God, it's Idris Elba, and I've got to yell at him.
like the scene we had no dialogue. And so you have to remember in the story, and this is not really giving anything away, but
the following is an announcement from the Nurses Guild of Florida. Home health aides or nurses invited in your home is an important issue family-wide. Where you get your private duty service is of critical importance. Did you know hiring a friend of a friend or even a recommendation from your church puts you and your family at risk for workers' compensation? A back injury will cost $60,000 to $100,000. And a slip and fall up to 3 times that amount. Do you know if a caregiver in your home has a history of abuse, neglect, or theft? Do they have a history of drug abuse or have an addiction? The Nurses Guild conducts full Level 2 criminal background checks. Is the labor law particular to home care being obeyed, or are you unknowingly setting up your estate for claims of unpaid time and a half? Why not get your private duty from a 5-star Medicare home health agency, the experts at home care? You get properly trained and supervised personnel, workman's compensation coverage, criminal background checks, proper adherence to applicable labor law, all to shield you from lawsuits. All of our home health aides and nurses are fully screened, supervised, and COVID tested. Here at the Nurses Guild, we have nurses from every specialty. No matter what your diagnosis, we have the right caregiver for you. Call the Nurses Guild today to arrange your home health visit at 954-596-9806 for Broward County and 561-826-8937 for Palm Beach County. Remember, healthcare put off is healthcare too late. Stay safe during the pandemic. Wear a mask and insist those around you wear a mask. Wash your hands frequently and stay home as much as
right.
Because my son has never known his father for 15 years, which means we have not seen each other in 15 years. So it was all kinds of tension. And then there's no dialogue. So we're just staring at each other like, you know, it's like, it was so terrifying. But then what made me really laugh, though, was, you know, we're doing our scene and it's outdoors. And, because there's a horse in the shot.
Of course.
You know, so we're outdoors and it's like just off a camera, just out of frame. It's like 50, 60, whatever women from North Philly just trying to get a glimpse of this man, just trying anything they can to be like, Adrian, you know. So they're all standing out of frame, right? And every time we had to reset the shot and I would have to go back to my starting position, you could just hear them all being like, who is that? I don't know her. I don't recognize her. I don't like her. Why she get to who that is? I don't like her. And I'm just walking back to my spot like,
that's our home. That's our home. We don't like her.
Yeah, I'm just feeling all the waves of hatred because they think I'm just this random, you know, girl showing up on set, and I'm like, no, I'm supposed to be here. La da da. You know,
Philadelphia. It's Philadelphia. If it was snowing, snowballs would be thrown at you.
I mean, thank God it was the middle of August, but it was like, I really am supposed to be, you know, it was like every time I'd have to go away from everybody else, and you could just hear them all the way up. You just hear the comments, and I'd be like, oh, okay, you know. But yeah, he was so cool. He was just like so chill. He said to me, he's like, what would I know you from? What have you been in? And I was like, oh no, this is it. This is my debut. And he was like, really? I get to be in your film debut? And I was just like,
oh, So he treated it like it was a privilege for him to be in your film, as opposed to you're sitting there like, you're a movie star, and that's awesome.
Like, I'm just fangirling over you, but sure, act like it's a pleasure for you to be. Sure, it just sure. You know what I mean?
I gotta back up a minute.
That's the kind of guy he is. He was so sweet, and
But I do have to back up a minute. I do have to stop you and back up.
Oh yeah.
I kind of ignored it a little bit because we got into like the Philly girls and everything else, but I got to back up a minute because you mentioned something that I can't just let walk away here. Now, we said that Idris Elba is in the movie, and we said that Caleb's in the movie, but you happened to just...
I did drop a name. I did.
Method Man's in this movie, too?
Method Man is in this movie. And let me tell you my funny story about Method Man. My first day on set, went into the evening, and we wrapped for the day. I'm heading back to my car. I'm seeing people. I'm just, shaking hands, saying hi to everybody because I'm so excited. And this man stops me, and we talk for 20 minutes. And I'm like, you're so nice. Thank you so much. I'm going to head home. I get in my car, put the key in the ignition, and that's when I realized it was Method Man. I did not know until then. I was like, oh.
I've had those moments, not in that essence, but I had that same moment back in 1998. I went to an Ozfest music festival.
Ooh, cool.
And
ooh.
At the time, I was still a musician myself. But I went to the festival, and I'm walking with a couple members of my band because we all went. Got lawn seats and everything else, and we're walking back to the car because we needed like another pack of cigarettes or something. And as we're walking, we bump into this short little blonde girl, and like, excuse me, and she's like, no problem. She walks on, and we continue walking for maybe 2 car lengths, and my rhythm guitarist and myself both stop and turn around because we realized we just ran into the bassist for Cold Chamber.
Oh, did you run after her? I would have ran after her. I would have been like, excuse me.
No, but the only one I ever would have probably done that to was actually in '96. This one you'll remember. It's a film in Philadelphia. Another small film nobody really knows about it. I was oblivious to the world, and I'm walking around Center City, Philadelphia, South Philadelphia area. And I've got my Walkman on, my headphones and my Discman, and I'm trapped in the world of like Nine Inch Nails or something. And looking down at my feet as I'm walking because, that's what you do in Philly. You don't look at people. You just look down.
Right. You head down. Yes, I know.
And I bumped into a person hard, and the dude was like a brick shit house, and he knocked me on my ass.
Yeah.
And I looked up at him, and he told me to watch where the F I'm going, dick, and walked on. And I got up, flipped him the bird, and walked on. It was like 2 steps before I was like, oh shit, that was Bruce Willis. I got cursed out by Bruce Willis while he was walking to set.
Oh no, man! I've done that. I've walked into the chest of who was it? Andrew McCullough, I think, when he was still playing for the Six.
Okay.
I don't know. Somebody. I ran into their chest. Head first. I've done that. I ran into James Earl Jones's chest in New York. I have a thing about kind of into people's chests. I don't know. I did that to...
You realize how jealous I am now that you met James Earl Jones, right? Being a Star Wars fan.
Well, he's also extremely shy, and he did not want to be recognized. Oh, I see it. Yeah, he did not want to be recognized, and he was like so afraid I was going to be like, so I was just like, and then he kind of gave me a very grateful smile and kept going because we were in a building. So he was, right. I think he was rehearsing for something, but he was trying to be incognito, and I barreled face first into his chest. I've done that too. So I don't know, does he go by P. Diddy or Diddy these days? I never keep track, but I did that to him in New York too. I ran face first into, well, technically I ran face first into his like entourage, but he was there and he
Right.
called me out, and I was like, because I was like in sweatpants and glasses, and I was just like, no, like, one of those. But
What's funny about
yeah,
it now is that
Idris was the coolest. I mean, Method Man was also up there. I'm not gonna say. I mean, come on, Method Man, but like Idris was the coolest. Come on.
what's funny now is after this movie comes out, they're all going to be looking at you. It's like, you were in that film. Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, gosh, this whole thing with COVID, right? I don't want to complain because I've been pretty blessed in terms of I haven't had to deal with anything super major, but
Right.
it's like when we were filming, the whole thing was, Liz, your parents, your family, they're going to be able to go into a theater and see your face up on that screen. That was the big thing. And then it was like, 3 or 4 months later, that was
DVD
taken.
or not.
You know what I mean? It was like
DVD,
dead in the water.
digital release. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it debuted at the Toronto Film Festival about a month ago. To pretty good reviews. I read every single one I could get my hands on, and by all accounts, people are very into the performances in this film and the narrative, the father-son narrative and everything. And now we're just kind of waiting to see, according to IMDb, today is the day, but I've got to find out if that's actually a typo.
Well, when they told you they were going to go to digital, did they tell you what streaming service they were going to put it on? No.
No. I've only heard who was in negotiations or who was in talks, but I'm not at liberty to say. But yeah, I mean, and there's still a chance maybe that it'll be in a theater. I have no idea.
They could. I mean, some movie theaters are actually starting to show viewings of movies again. So
exactly. So I mean, they could do both. I'm not really sure what the plan is, which is, I want to see it. I haven't seen it yet, so I'm still just like,
As your film debut, of course, you want it on the big screen. You want that experience of being able to see yourself up on the big screen. But, to play devil's advocate, the other end of the coin, even thanks to COVID and all that, a lot of films have gone straight to streaming service. And one of the ones that I think benefited from that, was Bill and Ted's Face the Music. And I mean, sometimes it's a blessing in disguise.
You never know. I mean, really, if it did just do streaming, it's like we're all home. We're all watching streaming services. You know what I mean? Like, everyone would have the opportunity to see it. So, I don't know. I'm just an actress. I don't make the decisions. But, I do hope that after it comes out and after, the initial excitement and everything, because I think people are really going to be blown away by Ricky, because this is his feature film debut as a director. I think people are really going to be blown away by Caleb because, Stranger Things did a pretty good job of sort of introducing us to what he can do, but this film takes it to a different level. And the majority of my scenes were with him. So I just got to see it firsthand every day. I was blown away by him. So I think people are going to be really excited to see that. And then, my film debut too. So hopefully people are like, oh, we like her. And hopefully it opens some doors. I'm hoping.
That's what I was going to say is Concrete Cowboys, which may or may not be releasing today. Check your streaming services. Check your what is it, video on demand service?
Yeah, check everything.
And see if it's there. And it definitely leads to, where do we go from here? What's in the future for Liz Presley?
What's in the future for me? Hopefully more movies, but at the moment, I am working on writing. I've been working on a web series and a screenplay simultaneously, and so me and a team of people, we are working very, very hard to get those out, because that's one of the other hidden blessings of COVID, is that I've had so much time to write.
Now, when you say web series, when you say web series, just so I'm clear and the listeners are clear, you're talking about like almost like like a YouTube TV show.
Yep, exactly.
Excellent.
Yep.
What's that about?
I don't want to give it away.
Without spoilers, of course.
Yeah, it's basically about it's a 3-season show with several episodes per season, but it basically tells the story of a very dysfunctional family each year that they go on vacation for 5 days.
Oh,
But
no.
it's a very large family, so it's different. It's told in different vignettes that kind of all
Comedy
fit
or
together.
drama?
Yeah. It's a comedy for sure. Yeah, it's a comedy for sure. Yeah, I'm playing one of the daughters in this family, and my character is, she's just so jaded, and I love playing characters like that because I'm not like that at all. So
Can I be?
yeah, it's fun.
Can I be in it? Can I be in it? Can I be
Absolutely. Oh
Can
my
I
God,
be-
yes.
Can I be the drunk that always winds up on the couch in the hotel room because he doesn't realize it's his room in like all 3 seasons? Like, you again?
Every time we pass the hotel lobby, hey, he's back. Chris is back. But yeah, I'm excited about that one. It has a really large cast, so it's been a little difficult getting together because of COVID restrictions, and so that's been sort of
Right.
unfortunately on hold a little bit. But we're pushing. We're trying to get that out because that's not something I've really had the opportunity to explore on a larger scale, is my writing, along with everything else that I do. And that's something I've been doing for years. So I really am excited for people to see some of the things that I've been working on. And then other than that, I mean, I'm basically chilling until this movie comes out because I need to know what's going to happen. So yeah, that's it. I mean, but I'm on Facebook and I'm on IMDb, so you can always keep up with me on there. If anything new happens, those will be the first 2 places that you'll know about it.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll definitely want to know when the movie when you find out exactly where it released.
I know. Oh,
So
man.
that way I could see it myself. But
I've had them set since last night. I cannot find anything about this. They're teasing me.
They are. But I mean, like, also I imagine you're going to continue with the opera or violin. Because you were doing that in the background too.
I don't get a chance to do them as much now. I mean, I still play the violin. Like if I picked it up now, I could still play it. I've had some auditions lately where I've had to play. So that's been interesting because I'm like, oh, this again. I really need to get my violin repaired though. That's one thing. And singing, that'll always be there. I don't think I'll ever actually stop singing, even if I'm like, I don't sing anymore. I sing all the time.
I haven't seen the film. I haven't seen the film. Don't tell me it is. If I'm right on this, but I think it's a lost opportunity if they didn't have the mom who drove down from Detroit at the end of the film, where the resolution is, joins the Concrete Cowboys. Her son all cowboyed up. Her ex husband, boyfriend, whatever, and turns around, whips out a violin, and starts starting a script.
That would be such a great ending. I might have to call Greg Neary and be like, hey man, because we're Facebook friends, and he recently completed a sequel to Ghetto Cowboy.
Has he really? Wow.
He has. So I don't know when that book comes out, but I can't wait to read it because I really want to know. I'm like, so sequel to the book, will there be a sequel to the movie? And if so, does the mom and the dad?
Ooh.
I don't know. Speak it into the universe, guys. Let's make it happen.
That's it. It's time for mom to have her fish out of water experience.
Man, introduce mom to the Ghetto Cowboy. How awesome.
Normally when you get sequels, family relations to sequels, it's always the next generation. No, make the previous generation go through it.
Yeah. I'll be a grandmother in the sequel. Oh boy.
There it is. Yeah. And the grandchild is what gets you to go there.
Yes,
That's where you
exactly.
reconnect with your estranged husband, and a whole love story comes back, and then you get that love scene with Idris
Idris.
Elba.
Let's
I,
make it happen, guys. Let's make
I've
it
got your
happen,
back
guys.
on that.
I mean, hey, I'll do it. I will do it.
Well, Liz, this has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Before we jump off again, the movie is called Concrete Cowboys. We unfortunately do not have the information on where it is streaming yet, but as soon as we do, we will let you know. I'll make sure it's in the description down below. I'll add it in later. Um, but guys, thank you very much for hanging out with us. I definitely want to have Liz take a moment and let everybody know where they can contact you if they have any questions that I didn't ask, or simply where they can get more information about you.
Yeah, I'm pretty boring. I only have one social media account, so you would have to find me on Facebook under Liz Priestley. Or like I said, you could check me out on imdb.com under Liz Priestley.
Excellent.
That's it.
And there's nothing
Maybe
wrong with
one of
being
these days I'll get an Instagram, but I'm boring.
there's nothing wrong with being boring in social media. Keep yourself out of trouble that way.
I mean, but I'd be like taking pictures of a lamp, being like, it's Friday.
That's what people do online anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for podcasting, I wouldn't even have a Facebook page. I mean, and guys, of course, if you enjoyed this episode in any capacity, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, comment, subscribe, check out all the other great podcasts of Realm of Mist Entertainment. And of course, if you prefer them in audio only format, check out Realm of Mist Entertainment on Anchor.fm, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, or wherever quality podcasts can be heard. Liz, again, it's been an absolute treat and pleasure. And I will definitely have to have you back on when you're setting up for the sequel or when you're winning your Academy Award. We'll do it like a good old-fashioned Philly block party.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun.
Thank you. It has been a blast. And guys, I will catch you on the next Breaking the Fourth Wall. Have a good night.